Welcome to the Infidel Podcast of the Damned, the weekly companion show of the Infidel News. Join us as we discuss this week's religious accounts from an atheist perspective. From Timbuktu to Toledo, from Kathmandu to Canada, from Bangalore to Bangladesh. We deplore, you deride. And here are your hosts, Dave and Nicole.
Hello and welcome to show number 29 of the Infidel Podcast of the Damned. I'm your host, atheist and author J. David Core, and with me is my co-host, Nicole Samard. Hello.
The one and only Nicole.
Also joining us today is Sean McGuire of My Secret Atheist blog. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
Today is Friday, May 29th, 2015, and we're going to be discussing the upcoming episodes of the Infidel News, which will run beginning Monday, June 1st, 2015. Today's newsreader is Ankh Infinitus, aka JP. Show notes for all of our podcasts can be found at infidelpodcast.blogspot.com. And so, Sean, you are also a fellow of Nicole's, a Canadian?
Yeah, I'm a Canuck. I'm a northerner.
And a member of the Kurukukukuku. So that's
And you live in Montreal, right?
Yes. Vive le Quebec.
You're missing one word there.
Vive le Quebec libre. There you go.
So, tell us a little bit about your blog. What kind of news do you cover, and who do you target?
Yeah, so I have my blog is a My Secret Atheist blog. I mean, it started out as a secret. It's no longer really a secret. So I started the blog out actually as not even an atheist, but I still considered myself religious when I started it. So it actually started out as a pantheist blog. I was weaning myself off religion and theism, and I think the last step a lot of people take is, well, God's everything. Once you get past that, you realize, well, if God's everything, then what's the point of, everything's everything. What do you need the God for, right? So that's kind of where it started out. I'd say around a year ago, maybe a little more, I decided to drop the pseudonym. So I started out as Godless Poutine. I'm still known as Godless Poutine. So it has its plus and minuses. People find it kind of a memorable sort of, I guess, name. But to be honest, now it's kind of, I'm trying to call myself Sean McGuire, and they say, "Oh yes, you're Godless Poutine." So, and I'm like, well, and poutine can mean many different things, not just the fries and gravy meal. So, you just need to look it up, and you'll realize it can mean all kinds of things. So, yeah. Anyway, so basically on the blog, I blog about atheism. I make fun of religion whenever I find it ridiculous, especially fundamentalist religions. Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, you name it. I'm equal opportunity, and I try.
Offender.
I try to really sort of fill the gap, because although other blogs do sort of the same thing, I find that there are fewer Canadian blogs, so I'll try to sort of pounce on the Canadian stories before other bloggers. I'm sure we can all think of a few, sort of pick them up and try to get them out there and try to focus on a Canadian point of view, or an international point of view too. I'll tend to jump on obscure stories from Indonesia or Malaysia or something. Or where things are really hopping, like the Middle East, where it seems like atheism is really taking off.
It's really hopping.
Believe it or not. Yeah, things are pretty intense there, but you don't really see that in a lot of the a lot of the U.S. blogs kind of get, sort of obsessing over the insanity du jour down there, and so I kind of just hop on the international stories a bit, because there are some pretty big blogs in the States that they do a pretty good job of covering most of the local stuff down there. So, and yeah, that's it. And then pseudoscience as well. I'll jump on, autism type quack cures, vaccines, all that kind of stuff. I'll jump on that as well.
And you've got an interesting one, your last one today regarding Cape Breton.
Right, yeah, Cape Breton Regional Municipality. I actually linked to the video. They posted a video of them, their city council talking about the prayer situation. It's all on tape, and man, some of them. One of the guys was talking about how the soldiers went overseas and died for his right to pray in city council, and another one's talking about how most scientists believe that there's something beyond science, whatever that means. I'm not sure what exactly. So there's a former city councilor down there who's actually taking it to their human rights council, human rights commission or down there in Nova Scotia, because the city hall, the councilors decided that they wouldn't pray out loud, but they'd have a moment of silence and prayer and reflection, and they would keep the prayer printed in the agenda, and they made sure to play "O Canada" and "God Save the Queen" because they both include the word God in them. So not exactly living up to the spirit of the Saguenay ruling.
Yeah, we talked about the Saguenay ruling not too long ago.
Yeah, that was when we had
Veronica
on, yes. Nicole tells me you also have another interesting sobriquet that you use, Lucian of Tyana or something like that, was it?
Tyre.
Lucian of Tyre, yeah, that is that's another thing I go by, but it's actually Lucian of Tyre was wrong, so it's actually Lucian of Samsota, but I have a degree in classics, so but believe it or not, I goofed it up when I wrote the email, so I'm pretty sure that I'm the only one that has an email that with Tyre in it, with Lucian of Tyre. Pretty So yeah, my degree in classics actually that was probably one of the first things that opened my mind to alternate ways of looking at religion, etc., because you had the ancient Greek religions too there, all the philosophers, the whole thing. So yeah, basically that helped me and sort of wean my way off Christianity as well.
Mm-hmm. So how long have you been, when did you become a pantheist, and how long have you been an atheist?
I became pantheist back in, I think it was when I was still in university around 2008. I considered myself a pantheist. The blog kind of didn't really go anywhere, so the blog dates back from all the way back to around there. I made a few posts, consider myself a pantheist. Someone from pantheism, some author or something, also got in touch with me. It was kind of interesting, but then I left that. And I actually read Richard Dawkins' book. Which one was that?
God is Not Great?
God is Not Great, that's it. And I realized that I was more or less a card-carrying atheist. And I said, okay, you know what? Everything that he's saying is actually quite reasonable here. Why not? But before I read the book, I'd actually considered it. I ran into some atheists who kind of mocked pantheism and the whole thing, and panentheism, and I was quite brutally against them. I thought, I was quite angry with them. But then I realized, it doesn't actually make any sense.
Mm-hmm. In God is Not Great, one of the things that I recall from Dawkins that actually I think would turn the table for you is probably when he said, I think he said, how do you phrase it? In order for God to be God, he has to be worthy of worship. And if if all you're talking about is whatever caused the universe to come into existence, that doesn't require worship. It's not worthy of worship. So why call it God?
Yeah, actually, I kind of liked what he said about pantheism, because he said pantheism was really nothing but sexed up atheism.
I remember that. Yeah.
And to be honest, that kind of made me realize, well, you know what, that's probably the case. It is just that. So I just sort of dropped it, but I became quite I became quite frustrated with just sort of religion, and I mean, there was some motivation behind the blog. Initially, the blog was for me to work things out regarding religion, etc. But then I just sort of was so interested in the news that I decided just to turn it into sort of more of a primarily a news blog. I mean, I'm also a big politics fan, but curiously, mostly U.S. politics. I'm fascinated by U.S. politics. I think it's because
it's so ridiculous.
not only that, but because when
not only that,
Canadian politics, it can be very ridiculous. But when Canadian politics becomes ridiculous, it's tragic, because I'm in Canada, right? But the U.S. politics can be as insane as it possibly can, as long as I'm afraid that they're not going to nuke us up here or something. As long as that doesn't seem to be a possibility, it's just more like a circus. There's a distance there that I have, so I can look at it and say, "Oh, that's ridiculous," and not feel personally threatened. I would feel different, I think, if I had to live down there.
No, I don't know. I find it fascinating, and I live here. I live there.
Like Rand Paul?
Yeah, like Rand Paul. Rand Paul can say something in one breath that sounds perfectly sane, and then in the very next breath say the most insane thing you ever heard.
I wonder how many libertarian listeners you guys have, because there's a bit of a strange overlap there between atheism and libertarianism.
Yeah, but Nicole and I are both fairly liberal, and I think that comes across enough that we probably end up either alienating them or they're used to us, either one or the other.
I think I may still have a few libertarian readers in my blog, but I think I might have lost several of them. Several libertarians, and also maybe there might have been a couple of MRAs there too that I might have lost at some point.
Yeah, that's no loss. If there's any MRAs watching us, you can go.
Yes. Oh yeah, I know how to burn them. I just went to see a movie last weekend. Australian movie where women are. Yes. It was a great movie.
Oh, this is what's his name, Passion of Christ guy, right? Is
no,
he?
Oh,
okay. Because you know what? I heard he wasn't in the original one either. There was the first one.
His voice wasn't in the original one.
Was it?
In the original one, they dubbed his voice.
Oh, okay, because there's Road Warrior or something, and then there's okay. Because the first one didn't take place in Australia.
It was shot in Australia, but it was not. They never actually. I don't think they said where it took place.
Okay.
And they wanted to appeal to a American audience, and his voice was too distracting because he was nobody at the time. Nobody knew who he was.
I liked those movies, actually.
I did too. They were good. And I actually like Mel Gibson as an actor, but he's a crazy fucker.
He's a nut.
Yeah.
But my background is like that because my parents actually, I was raised in St. Pius X traditional Catholic Latin Mass upbringing, which is very much so. Whenever I hear the sort of stuff coming out of Mel Gibson's mouth, I recognize it. That's the kind of Catholicism I grew up in, actually.
You're with two other former Catholics.
Yep. So we seem to have a lot of former Catholics on our show. A lot.
Yeah.
But yeah. But anyway, so your blog again is My Secret Atheist Blog. That would be one word, right?
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
And is it just .com?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have any other online presence that? Do you have a book out?
No, unfortunately, no book yet. I don't know when the book is coming. I do have. I mean, there's a Facebook page and a Twitter, but I mean that's pretty normal. I do on the blog. I do some fundraising for a humanist school in Uganda. It's called Kasese Humanist Primary School, and I've actually used the blog and to fundraise for that, and we've actually managed, with the help from other blogs like Hemant Mehta's blog, My Friendly Atheist blog, and Canadian Atheist, and Pharyngula as well, PZ Myers. We actually were able to raise money to buy a chicken coop at the old site, and then we raised enough money to buy land for a new site, a new campus, and then enough money to raise up a power for the site. And now they've, and then I think in total we've raised around $20,000 for the school. So now they're constructing they're done constructing the school, as far as I know. It's there, brand new. They used to rent it from the railway station, but now the new site's completely built. Used to be ramshackle shacks made out of tin and wood. Now they're brick at the new site. And they have, I think, over 300 students. They're teaching from a humanist point of view in Uganda. And they actually have they're opening up an orphanage as well. So that's what I'm funding right now, or trying to raise money for, and they've started construction on the orphanage as well. So that's on the site. So I thought I'd just plug that mercilessly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's important.
Right. If anybody in our listening audience then wanted to make a donation, they could just go to mysecretatheistblog.com and they would find a donate button.
That's right. There on the right side, you'll see some panels for various fundraisers. One's for the where is it? Let me go down here. One's for the classroom. One's for the orphanage. I don't think I have a fundraiser for the school, but if you simply just Google Kasese, Kasese, Humanist School, you'll find the Kasese website. And to be honest, at the very top, there's a link on the menu bar. There isn't one right now. Oh yeah,
but
Kasese,
you've got Bizoha Orphanage.
Yeah, that's it. So you can click on that. That's for the orphanage. But at the very top, underneath My Secret Atheist blog, there's a menu there, and right between Home and Raif Badawi, you'll see Kasese, and that'll give you all the links you'll need. All my posts are there, so you can easily find one and make a donation from there. Every month or so, at least, I'll make a post with a bunch of pictures on the progress at both sites.
Good. Well, I hope we get some people looking at your site and making some donations for you. So let's go ahead and move on and do the first news story.
Okay, here's the first story.
An unnamed 16-year-old high school student who was taking an online Intro into Humanities course for college credit claimed that her professor, Lance Russum, gave her 4 straight 0 grades unfairly because she was defending her Christian viewpoint. The student, referred to as GL in the complaint, and Liberty Counsel, a civil rights group which defends positions from a Christian rights standpoint, argue that the professor failed her because she refused to conform to his personal worldviews of Marxism, atheism, or anti-theism, feminism, and homosexuality. The complaint stems from a test at Polk State College in Lakeland, Florida, on 3 articles concerning Lady Julian of Norwich, a 14th century Christian mystic. In his instructions, the professor demanded that students only address the reasoning behind Lady Julian's arguments and not to brandish their own opinions on Christianity or comparisons between Christianity as it existed then and as it exists now. Russum felt the student failed to follow the instructions, and 4 subsequent independent graders came to the same conclusion. The school defended the wording of the instructions because they feel the professor made it clear that it was his intention to challenge student preconceptions. In their initial complaint, Liberty Counsel demanded a full and independent review of Mr. Russum's behavior and course content, appropriate grading of GL's 4-0 assignments by a different professor, a written apology, and assurances that future courses taught by Mr. Russum, if any, will be free from such unlawful discrimination. Polk College responded, saying the college's administration does not intend to take any further action on this matter, including those actions urged in your letter.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What the college told them, we're not going to do anything, including what you want us to do.
Did you like the comment I put under the picture? I wrote,
Yeah,
"He doesn't die this time around."
Yeah. It was that movie, that Kevin Sorbo movie. What was it called?
God is not dead.
God is not dead. Yes. It presented like a caricature of what they think atheist professors are. And then here we have an actual atheist professor who wasn't doing what they think he does in their caricature of them, so they projected onto him that he was doing what they thought. You know, it's just this bizarre, self-feeding, we're always victims mentality that they have.
They want it to be true.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a real comment. I mean, it sounds like, based on what I've heard, they've had several independent people look at this and come to the same conclusion. So unless the school is full of an army of evil atheist professors, it seems fairly reasonable to me that these are zeros. I mean, I guess if you want to be merciful, you can let her redo these or something. I mean,
yeah. Well, it turns out that the girl actually passed the class anyway. She passed. She doesn't even need those grades. This is, again, it's more of them just being victims for the sake of being victims, because she could have, you know, there was no reason for this to go anywhere near as far as it did, even if there was a valid complaint in the first place. But the fact that it wasn't a valid complaint just makes it's just icing on the cake.
But the thing is, she's not used to a university education where you're asked to evaluate something while putting yourself into the other person's shoes, not to do it from your point of view. And that's all she was asked to do, to evaluate something from the other person's point of view. And she just failed to do that, so she fails the work, the assignment.
I was actually in a linguistics course where one of the students in one of her essays brought up that the reason for multiple languages was the Tower of Babel.
Oh, fuck.
And the professor took marks off for that. And, you know, because this isn't Bible study, I mean, you may have your own theories, but in this class, you know, we do things like Proto-Indo-European and other science-based arguments.
Yeah.
Because you could, I mean, just because you have a belief doesn't mean that you need to get credit for it on the test. A person could believe that the Earth is the center of the universe, and if they bring that up in a astronomy class, they're going to lose points because that's not what astronomy is. That's not even what astrology is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd probably fail a few course over there at Liberty University or whatever it's called. Yeah.
But where did you study again?
I have a degree in computers from McGill, and I have another one from in classics from Concordia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my wife studied classics, so I'm familiar with the topic.
Oh, it's fascinating. I love it, but you know, I couldn't get a job doing classics. I'm now back in computers again.
Yeah.
What can you do besides teach with a classics degree?
I hear that you can have a satisfying career as a barista over at
or you can write textbooks.
Yeah.
Okay, story number 2.
I will no longer draw the figure of Muhammad. It no longer interests me. This statement comes from cartoonist Renaud Louzier, who uses the nom de plume Luz. In an interview with French magazine Les Inroctables, I said that wrong, I know. The head cartoonist of Charlie Hebdo, and the man responsible for the now famous Je suis Charlie cartoon, which graced the cover of the magazine's Survivors issue, as they called it, following the assassinations which took place in their offices in January. Luz explained his decision, saying, "He no longer interests me. I'm tired of him, just like former French President Nicolas Sarkozy. I'm not going to spend my life drawing them." Luz defended his decision to depict a crying Muhammad over a caption that all is forgiven by noting that it is not the cover the world wanted them to run, but it was the cover they wanted to run. He also noted, "The terrorists did not win. They will have won if the whole of France continues to be scared."
I like Hank because he's genuine. Yeah, he will say it.
He couldn't read that. He couldn't read that to save his life. The cartoonist who did the cover won't draw Muhammad anymore, but he wasn't the one that drew the initial cartoons that got the extremists upset in the first place. That was other cartoonists, right?
I'm not sure, but he's done it plenty of times, though.
Yeah, he's done it plenty of times. While we were on hiatus, happened to be Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. That week that we missed, and I kept expecting that to be like a big, thing with Pamela Geller making her stupid statements and everything, and it just kind of went by with nobody caring this year. I didn't see a whole lot of anything about it this year.
No, but yeah.
I don't think that any of the blogs covered it. I think that Hemant's blog maybe mentioned it in passing, one post saying that he sort of didn't have enough time this year to really cover it properly. So yeah, I remember it used to be a really big deal, but I guess not. I mean,
yeah, and you would think in this year, right after Charlie Hebdo, right after Pamela Geller, with all that stuff building up, that it would be something that people would make. I don't really. It's not a big deal to me. I mean, I don't really care about insulting Muslims by drawing Muhammad. It's not something I enjoy. But I did change my Facebook status to a picture that I drew of Muhammad a couple years ago for the day, and then changed it back, and I didn't mention it. I didn't say anything about it. But it's just become such a thing that nobody cares about in the face of all these other things. It's kind of just a strange dichotomy to me that's gone away while this other stuff has become so big, and it's all the same topic.
Well, I think Westerners got tired of it before the Muslims did.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like some sort of hell on earth for this guy. I mean, now he has to draw the cartoon over and over again. Think about it. Maybe he'll have to do that forever.
That's his punishment.
That's his punishment. Yeah. That would be too clever, though. That would never be right. That would never actually happen.
No, the only place God is clever with punishments is in Dante. That's
yeah.
It's not in the Bible, not in there,
But I was going to ask you, Sean. Like you said that you like in your blog to cover different stories from around the world that nobody else seems to cover. What do you think of our news so far? We seem to be doing the same kind of thing.
What do you think of what? Sorry?
Like, you said that you like to write about stories that are not covered normally by other bloggers in the U.S. And the thing is, our show, we like to cover stories that are not covered in the big media. So what do you think of our selection so far?
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. Point taken. I mean, I haven't seen really any mention of Draw Muhammad Day, really. So I guess so. Let's take a look at the next one then.
Okay, here we go.
In order to block a proposed sex club in Nashville, Tennessee, lawmakers led by Councilwoman Karen Bennett invented a law that prohibited such clubs within 1,000 feet of a school, church, daycare, or park. They also implemented a rule making it illegal to open a club in any building designated for office space. This effectively stymied the plans for what was to be called the Social Club. So the owners changed the name of their proposed members-only establishment to the United Fellowship Center, relabeled the rooms on their extant floor plan from such designations as the dungeon room to choir and dressing room to sacristy, and they have promised that there won't be any sexual activity on the premises. Effectively, they are now calling themselves a church, and they are expecting all the privileges and protections the law affords to religious organizations. The new plans have been approved, but city fathers promise to keep a close eye on the goings-on to assure that they are in compliance with the restrictions on church governance, which most other churches regularly ignore.
A new religion that'll bring you to your knees.
That's good. That's good.
I wonder what happens in the rectory.
That's even better.
The whole idea, though, that I mean, they created this law that said that you can't have a sex club within so many feet of a blah 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 or a blah whatever, you know, a park, you know, a school, a church, whatever. All you have to do is go around any city and measure out, you know, like how far everything is from everything, and then you can write a law say, like, for example, if within every 1,000 feet there's at least one of these things, we'll just make the law. You can't put a sex club within 1,000 feet. But if it's 1,500 feet, then it would be legal. So you just change the law to 1,500 feet. You know what I mean? They can make the law whatever they want in order to prevent it, and make it sound like they're doing it to protect the sanctity of the schools and the churches and the parks, but they're really just doing it to prevent people from doing something that they don't want them to do.
I don't know. I mean, do you know how many churches there are in Montreal? Have you ever watched? You should come down here and walk down St. Catherine Street, because here in St. Catherine Street you've got strip clubs and churches. They're all on the same street. So after you're done going to the strip club, you can go and get yourself some nice poutine, maybe a beer, and then when you're feeling really guilty after all that, you get to go to church, confess all your sins.
Yeah, but this is small town America that we're talking about in this particular story, though, so it makes it easier for them to do it. But they could do the same thing in Montreal if they wanted to. They could make it a law. That's how Giuliani cleaned up Times Square, was by making it a law that you couldn't have adult entertainment within so many feet of this, that, or the other.
I think that could be. I read somewhere that could be happening in Toronto as well. That the numbers are decreasing. I don't know. I mean, I to be honest, I haven't been to such an institution since my college days, so I don't know what the situation is in Montreal. But yeah, you're exactly right. This whole thing is absolutely silly, and I think that I say good on the strip club there for their ingenious plan. I mean, yeah. What they're doing there can't be worse than cannibalizing some god in the form of a piece of bread.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know, they try to change the laws all the time. You know, to make it so that you know, like whenever, for example, marijuana in the United States, at least, they don't allow. For a long time, they didn't allow for religious exemptions for marijuana, but that's beginning to change. But for really, what logical reason can you say that a person who uses marijuana for their religious practices is not doing a religious thing? Anything can be considered religious. So if they want to consider having sex on the altar to be religious, that wouldn't be the first religion to do that.
Back in my pagan days, I read all about it.
Exactly.
Well, there's a church now in the U.S., you know, where and we even wrote about that. We talked about it once, about a church that will, you know, they decided that it's going to be a marijuana church.
Yeah, there's a new marijuana church that opened up, and then there have been other churches that have opened up in order to get around other prohibitions on different things, but nothing like there's actually I think there's a church of where they teach pedophilia, but that one's not really getting a lot of people on their side.
In Europe, they've got a church. I can't remember which country it's in. It's probably Amsterdam, maybe Amsterdam or Netherlands or something, where their religion is that they have to copy games and videos and movies, software. So it's in the religion that as soon as they get any sort of copyrighted material, they have to copy it.
Yes, I remember that. I saw that. I forget where I saw that, but I remember seeing that. That was their way of getting around copyright law.
Yeah.
And there's also religions that are aimed at. We were talking with a transhumanist recently, and there are religions aimed at transhumanism and this idea of getting the body to be less important and getting trying to get the soul. And it was that Swedish documentary maker that we talked about, Nicole.
Oh yeah.
There was a church that's doing that in Sweden.
Yep.
Or Norway or wherever that is, somewhere over in the Slavic countries here. Anyway, I was reminded just a second ago in our discussion. You're all familiar with the being up in Canada. I assume that you're still familiar with what's going on with the United States with the Duggars.
Oh yeah.
How could I miss that?
Yeah. Well, have you seen what's going on with like Mike Huckabee and Ray Comfort? And I mean, there's just been several evangelicals like coming forward defending the Duggars. How this isn't going to harm them in the long run, I don't understand. But that Ray Comfort would come out and say, Ray Comfort, I think what he said was, he did this before he came to Christ. A lot of us did things like this before we came to Christ. So it makes you wonder what Ray Comfort was into.
I smoked some weed, but I don't think I ever molested anybody.
Except that Josh Duggar, was supposedly came to Christ when he was 7 years old. So
right.
That doesn't work.
You can't really make that right. But he backslid for a week.
Maybe the thing with Christ is it's sort of like some medication. You've got to like sort of take it for a while before the effects really kick in. Could that be it?
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, you just didn't get enough Christ.
Yeah, not enough.
Yeah, but I will say this: I know that this is not something that's going to be a popular thing to say, and I want to make sure it comes out the right way. I do think it's a little unfair for people to be calling Josh Duggar a child molester. Now, what he did was disgusting, and what he did was wrong, but that doesn't make him a child molester today. Because at the time he was 15, he was technically a child himself. He wasn't emotionally, and I actually wonder if it wasn't Josh Duggar, and if it wasn't, if we found out that this was something that some liberal hero had done when he was 15. It's not like Cosby, where he was a grown ass man and knew what the fuck he was doing. If he was still a kid, and so they didn't get him the help he needed. So you can blame the family for that. They didn't get him the right kind of help at all, and so there is an issue with that. But there are people that in regular families that things like this happen. They put them in a home or like they get therapy for them, and they come out better on the other end. And there's no reason to. He wasn't fully developed, is what I'm saying. He wasn't a full-grown man when he did what he did. So is it really right to call him a child molester?
Well, I think that 15-year-old, you're old enough to know the between right and wrong. If he was a prepubescent, like where the hormones are just starting to kick in and you don't really know what you're doing, yeah. But 15, I think, is a bit old enough.
Actually,
but then they don't give the death penalty to people who are 15.
No, but There's a difference between killing.
Jim Bob suggested the death penalty for child molesters, though. Did you hear about that?
Did he?
Yeah, he did. But what was it? I was watching you find a documentary by Louis Theroux. I think he's a British documentary maker, and he actually goes to this jail. I think it's in Arizona. I'm not quite sure. It's somewhere in the desert, one of those desert states, where they actually lock up a lot of pedophiles, and they actually run tests on them where they strap sensors up to their genitalia and show them child porn, and they see if there's a response, and that's, I guess, how they test. And the thing is that I'm fairly convinced that some people are attracted to men, some people are attracted to women, and some people are just attracted to kids, and it's just hardwired. And then these people need to be kept away from children. And I mean, I don't know how do you get this out of somebody? Definitely, a lot of what Duggar did not get, this Josh Duggar guy did not get. And in the documentary, at least, you'll find that a lot of the people there have been there for years, and it looks like they're going to be there for years more. And some of them don't want to leave. Some of them are in this institution. They're like, you know what? I can't control myself. I need to get neutered or something. It's pretty bad. So that's pretty grim. Sorry, but what I'm saying is that I'm not sure if he's 15, and as Nicole says, he's post-pubescent at that age. It could be just the way his mind's wired up.
Right. And he could be. I'm not saying he couldn't be a risk today. He certainly could be a risk today. He could be. He never got the help that he needs to take care for that situation.
He was never proven as an adult to have done this. I think.
Right. But nothing like that has happened since that we know of since he was 15. Right. So is it really fair to label him as a child molester when it's possible that he was just immature at 15 and didn't understand his own sexuality, was attracted to girls in general? Now, what he did would be like, definitely an abuse of authority. It's not right. There's no right way to say, say what he did was okay. It's not. But it's still, is it fair to label him as a child molester? That's my only issue, because he hasn't done anything like that.
It's difficult because, I mean, when I'll admit that when I was in high school, we were pre-18 years old, and I mean I knew there are plenty of girls who got pregnant before, when they're 16 or 17 or whatever. This stuff goes on. I guess what's the additional ick factor here is the incest. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know I don't actually know the ages, like the difference, like if the gap is big between
it is
pretty
big. One of the girls I think was 4.
Yeah, that's really disgusting. That's if Josh were 15 and when the girls were 14, I'd be like, ugh, incest, ugh. But at the same time, I'd be like, yeah, but if they weren't siblings, this would be like, this stuff goes on, Yeah. But yeah, that difference, like 4 years old, yeah, that's not good.
Well, I'll tell a story on myself that's not gonna make me look very popular. But anyway, when I was about 16 years old, I was out riding my bike, and one of the little girls in the neighborhood asked me for a ride, and I put her on the bike, and she was in front of me, and she was probably 8, and I didn't do anything to her. But I did catch myself getting aroused because there was a girl on the bike in front of me, and I was at that age where, you get involuntary erections at that age, So that kind of thing. I had the common sense not to do anything about it, and I had no desire to do anything.
I think that could be it. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a family. I had a little sister, and I never. The additional sister brother thing, that thought didn't even cross my mind. But yeah, I don't know. It could also be a lack of prefrontal lobe, just sheerly a lack of control as well. Yeah, I don't know.
When you're a teenage boy, you have no control as to what will give you an erection and what will not. You know, it just happens.
But you do have control over what you act on.
Exactly.
And so that's the right.
That's my point about Josh. That's my point about him.
You think with all this Christ that he had, that he'd be able to figure out what's right and wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Jeez.
You would think. I mean, obviously the morality comes from the Bible, so.
Yeah.
You assume you're getting lots of that. Then, of course, we all know all the good stuff that's in the Bible about sex.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thou shalt sleep with your hands on the covers.
But one last Josh Duggar observation, though. So in the past couple of years, we've had Bill Cosby. We've had I had a list of them. I can't think of the list right now. But there was Weiner, Anthony Weiner. There have been a whole bunch of like famous people that have gotten involved in like R. Kelly, and all these different people that have been involved in things like this, and usually it's just a small group. Michael Jackson. Okay, it's a small group of radical fans that support them, and everybody else, liberal or conservative, says ick, and says and backs away from them and says and calls them out and says this is wrong. What you did was wrong. But in this particular case, remember Stephen Collins? He was the guy from Seventh Heaven. He was the dad on Seventh Heaven. And last year we found out that he had confessed to his wife that he had molested some young girls. And nobody came to his aid. Nobody came and supported him. But this Josh Duggar thing, the right wing and the evangelicals are coming out of the walls to support him. And it's the same thing with the Duck Dynasty guy. People came out of the walls to support him because they're a current right-wing Christian voice. If their show had been canceled already, I don't think they would be getting the support that they have. I think it's the right-wing evangelicals want that show to stay on the air to keep that message of we hate the gays going. That's just my observation.
Okay. Okay, now we'll go on to the Christian glitches. Be prepared.
Now, I just want to ask you a question. This is honestly the only reason I kept getting on your case. I would like to hear out of your own mouth, why do you believe that is wrong for a human being to own another human being in of itself?
Are you saying you don't believe it's wrong?
I don't believe that there's anything wrong with a human being owning another human being in of itself.
So that you think there's nothing in and of itself wrong with one human being owning another human being?
Nope. I care about the actions that follow the person owning the other person.
So can I own you then?
Yes, you can, just so as long as you have me do good and not evil.
Okay. So you're willing to be my property?
Yes, I am, as long as you have me do good and not evil.
Well, I'm going to have you come and, first of all, pick all the weeds out of my yard. Is that fine?
As long as I'm compensated afterward, no problem.
Oh, what's compensated? That's not slavery. I don't have to pay my property.
What?
It's not slavery. I don't have to pay my property.
What?
Matt, that is stupid. You can own something or someone and compensate that individual for what they're doing, but that person will still technically be your property. Matt, you're not proving that slavery would be immoral. Actually, you're proving that you would be immoral for not properly taking care of your property. For example, my dog is my property, and I make sure my dog eats, has a roof over his head, has his shots, and is taken care of. But you have openly admitted that you would be a bad owner and you would do a terrible job owning another human being. Again, it isn't slavery that's the problem, it's people like you.
And so we hear the wisdom of G-Man.
Yeah, that I'm a little confused by. So his argument is then that if you hire somebody, that you technically own them.
Yep.
That's the problem. That doesn't, like, it's so wrong on so many different levels. Where do you even begin?
I know. That just doesn't even make sense. That's an employee. That's not a slave. A slave is somebody who has no choice. I can quit a job if I don't like the way I'm being treated at the job. I can quit the job. I can file grievances if I don't like the way I'm being treated at the job. I have recourse. A slave is somebody who has no recourse. Your dog actually has recourse. Your dog can bite you. So even that doesn't make sense. Your dog can run away, but dogs, the human animal paradigm with dogs, is there's tit for tat. They provide companionship and protection, and you provide protection and food, and theoretically love, and that's not slavery. That doesn't make any sense.
Did any, that the way that started out, maybe I just have a dirty mind or something, but it all kind of sounded a bit weird and almost like kinky, like almost like a dominatrix sort of thing, where he like wanted to go into like bondage or something, or
Yeah.
I'm like, what, you want to come to my lawn? I'll give you a gimp suit and you can walk around and take the weeds out of my lawn and do my laundry or something. I don't know. That was really weird.
But even in a dominatrix situation, there's a safe word. You can always quit doing what you're doing when you're uncomfortable.
That's true. I don't know. You have to even think about like a king and his peasants or the serfs. I mean, I guess, is that the case? Like, if you're a king, you basically own everything, right? Even the people. Like, if I were a king and I were walking around and I saw your daughter and I'm like, oh yeah, she's mine now. I'm just gonna bring her. I'll just take her home. Whatever. That's just fine. I guess there's no recourse there, right? That's the kind of world he believes in.
Yeah, but even with that situation, even in that would be like the time of Caligula. Caligula could get away with that kind of stuff, but there were always people plotting against him for it too. Nobody,
Yeah.
And he actually ended up getting killed because of it.
So did Malcolm McDowell's career. That pretty much killed that as well.
He did a few good things after that, but yeah, that was his.
And the thing is, I don't know about if you have something like that in in England, or if they had something like that, but in France they had something called le droit du seigneur. The seigneur was the nobleman's right, as in before a woman got, once a woman got married, before she went for her first night with her husband, the nobleman could sleep with her. It was his right.
Right. That's actually been that they did have that in England, and they also had it in Rome, because that's a scene in the movie Caligula.
Yeah, but that's it's after Caligula though that it happened. It happened in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
They could do that.
Yeah. It happened until the Magna Carta, probably, and then but in France they didn't have the Magna Carta, so I don't know when.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what's the proper compensation for that anyway? Like we would ask, what's his name here, G-Man or whatever it is. Like what?
Yeah.
What would be legit for that? Like how much money or whatever? I mean, because he seems totally down with the idea of one person owning another person. So I mean,
yeah. Well, there's a lot in the Bible. When you're a Christian and you're trying to justify all the crap that's in the Bible, that's the kind of twisted thinking that you have to put yourself through, is to rationalize that slavery is okay under these circumstances because the Bible says it's okay. So it has to be there has to be a way to make it right.
Yeah. I mean, I can sort of see where it's coming from. Like you have this sort of idea of submission in Islam as well. I think this idea of just totally surrendering everything to the Lord, you know, the Seigneur, or what do you want to say, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it's a really naive point of view to think that you know that there's any comparison between that and slavery, because the thing is that slavery never enforced people to be nice to their slaves. I mean,
no, but the Bible does tell the Bible does tell you how Jesus says how you can. I think, or it's not Jesus, it's
Paul.
Paul, yeah, it tells you how to treat your slaves. You know what you can and can't do. So
yeah,
I mean there were rules.
Yeah, you can beat them up, and you can't be charged for killing them if they don't die within the first day of you beating them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they had slavery in the Roman times at the time that Paul was writing this. They had slavery in you know, ancient Israel. The Israelites, you know. The people have this conception of Moses being the guy who freed the Israelites from slavery, and then the Bible goes on to say that they took people as slaves. The Israelites took people as slaves. So it was just the Old Testament is just, you know, as long as it's being done to somebody else and not the Israelites, it's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that we've reached the end of the show now.
I think so. So once again, Sean's blog is mysecretatheistblog.com, and you can go there to read his stories on what's going on in the world of atheism from a Canadian point of view and more globally, and also to donate to humanist Ugandan charities that are mostly focused around children.
right. Yes. Yeah. Humanist charities.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us. That's all for today. Please make sure that you subscribe to the Atheism TV channel. There you can watch the Infidel News for the Damned, where our talented team of writers and anchors present these and other stories not normally covered in the media. In the coming week, the Infidel will rerun today's stories and many more fascinating ones. You'll find Atheism TV at youtube.com/atheismtv. The Infidel Podcast of the Damned is a Nicole SD production. Nicole and I would like to recognize and say thank you to Truth Surge, who did the voiceover use in our intro and gave us permission to use music from his song Lied To as our opening theme. We'd also like to thank Sean for participating in today's podcast. Nicole's channel is Nicole SD and can be found at youtube.com/NICOLSD. I'm Gamut Man on YouTube, at Gamut Man on Twitter, and my blog and information on my books, including my nonfiction title, Believe It, You Know, an Atheist, as well as my mystery novels featuring the atheist detective Lupa Schwartz, can be accessed at tinyurl.com/lupalanding. While there, you can sign up to receive my newsletter. Signing up also entitles you to choose one free ebook title from my collection of 99-cent novellas. We won't be on next week because Nicole's going to be off doing another...
the following week. It's the following week, the week of the 10th.
Oh, so we are on next week.
Yes, we are.
But not the week, but not the week after.
Yeah.
Okay. So in 2 weeks. Okay, so we will see you next week then. Okay, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.